At this time, we're going to call the Human Services Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Nolden,
Present.
Commissioner Winfrey,
Here.
Commissioner Ellenberg,
Here.
Commissioner Clemens,
Present.
Commissioner Avery,
Present.
Commissioner Shoemaker,
Present.
Commissioner Davis,
Present.
Commissioner Newman is absent, Commissioner Peppin.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. This time, we entertain a motion to approve the January 12 minutes. Properly moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Are there any public comments to this committee? Any public comments to this committee? Any public comments to this committee? Public comments are now closed. At this time, we're going to have a presentation from the Michigan Cooperative Extension. Mark Rankin, are you present?
I am, thank you. I would like to introduce Lynette Kaiser. Ann O'Rourke is not feeling well today, so she's not able to join us. But these two ladies, one of them is a program instructor for early childhood education. The other is a community nutrition instructor for Genesee County. And they have developed a family enrichment series that they've been doing for Genesee County and Flint residents. So they are excited about this program. They've had some positive feedback about this program. They want to share it to you as commissioners. A lot of times you guys get a lot of bad news, and MSU Extension likes to come and share good news that's happening within the community. So at this time, I would like to introduce Lynette Kaiser, Community Nutrition Instructor. Thank you.
I just want to say, I am glad that I get to be the happy part of this meeting. After listening to everything, I'm hoping that you'll enjoy this a lot more than some of the other conversation. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I appreciate it. During this pandemic, there was something very good that came from it, and that was that my colleague, Ann O'Rourke, and I came up with what we call the Family Enrichment Series. And what we did is Ann teaches a curriculum that is called Guiding Principles for Highly Successful Parenting. I teach nutrition. There are several different curriculums. Currently, I'm using the Cooking Matters at Home curriculum, which is a virtual curriculum. And what we discovered is that when we combine these two programs, that they do several things. Number one, we're able to share different skills that families can use and hopefully do use, is what we're hoping for, and that we are able to take and help them to be able to work with their children during times of high emotion. On the handout that I gave you, I'm talking a lot about lead. And Ann specifically, when we initially had the SCIFAR grant, she was over the Guiding Principles curriculum, and it came about because of the lead issue. And the big problem that we have is we knew because of that issue that we were going to have problems, and hopefully not a lot of them, with children that would have issues as far as behavior and maybe even some disabilities. In the schools now, and parents are currently experiencing the after effect of this. Now, I referred to lead in the handout, but this particular, the Family Enrichment Series, is a program that applies to all parenting. How many of you are parents? Okay, how many of you had a guide on what to do when your 3-year-old is throwing a temper tantrum or someone doesn't want to eat what you've put before them? I'm telling you, I have 4, actually 6 with my 2 bonus children. And as I look back when they were younger, I wish I had something that I could have, some type of a little guideline. And what we have found with our family enrichment program is that we are able to help parents, number one, understand how to help their children deal with emotion, to recognize the emotion that they're having, and then know how to deal with it. Now, next question, how many of you have had emotions and wasn't quite sure where that emotion was coming from, but it was strong? I mean, I know I've had emotions and I've sat back and I thought, whoa, that was not necessarily a good way to handle this. So what Ann does is helps us understand the executive function of the brain. And I'm not going to try to get into that and explain her what she, all of her information. But when you sit down and you listen to her explain how that executive function works, all of a sudden, the parent can understand why something may be happening from an emotional standpoint with their child or even with themselves. I had a personal example with that when I overreacted to something, and then I started thinking about what I had heard during our class, and I went back to Ann. I said, hey, Ann, I just now recognized what I did, and you can actually make a change in how you respond and control that emotion better when you understand what is happening. So in her program, she is helping parents to understand this. It's extremely important, I think, when it comes to those that have been affected by lead. I know that we don't talk about lead as much as that we used to, but that's because we've been working on that problem, but there's after effects that children and maybe even some of the parents are being affected by. Not even mentioning the mental health because of this pandemic over the last couple of years. Now you bring in nutrition, and what we learn is nutrition is what helps with proper development. I mean, in the first 3 years of a child's life, if they are not getting the proper nutrition, their brain is actually extremely small. It's smaller than other children that eat healthy. So a balanced diet is extremely important. But another thing to keep in mind is what we eat affects our behavior. Now, I want you just to think for a minute of a time when you may be overindulged. I bet you none of you do that, though. Overindulged in some of those sweets that, can taste mighty good at times. And think about maybe how you felt afterwards. It affects you physically, it affects you emotionally, and it affects you mentally. Everything that we do revolves around food. Have you ever been to an event that did not have food? We love food. And so it's really important that we are careful about what we're putting in our body, but especially with our kids. Because when they're going to school, if they do not have the proper nutrition, they do not behave properly. They cannot think the way they need to. They cannot sit still. How can we get after our children in these classrooms if we're not setting them up for success? So what Ann and I are trying to do is we want to set up children for success. We want to set up parents for success. We want parents to have good feelings in the home and be able to create traditions and routines that make the family flow smoothly. Now, I wish I had my little PowerPoint here so I could show you all these wonderful pictures that I have of these, perfect little scenarios. I realize that it's not something that's gonna help, and everybody's not gonna jump on board. But I can promise you that if we can get into these homes, or I should say have parents attending these meetings, it will make a significant difference. If it makes a difference for them in school, if it makes a difference for them in the family, it will make a difference when they're in public. It will make a difference how they're reacting and acting out in the public. So, what we have been doing, and this, I am very excited about this, you guys. Anne, I'm gonna put her on the spot since she's not here. I did this yesterday too when we were in a meeting, but I pointed at her and I said, listen, you said, why don't you just call and talk with the supervisors over there at CRIM, and let's see if we can get something going with those community school directors. And I already worked with this, a lot of the Flint schools, community school directors. I really hesitated. We are kind of we both do nutrition and everything, and I had to do some thinking about this. But you know what we did? We got a hold of them, and I was sharing with them how would it be if we started collaborating and we started working together to strategize how we can get parents in the Flint schools to participate more in the programs that the Flint schools are offering. And I looked at him, I said, now I'm gonna be honest, let's all be honest. We all have certain things in our jobs that we have to do. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I have to have some numbers. CRIM has to have some numbers. Community school directors have to do programming. I said, so let's not try to fool ourselves, okay? We have to accomplish our goal, but we have a group of people that have been exposed to the lead. A lot of these families are low income, and we have an opportunity to help them with programs that are free. So we have started meeting on a regular basis, and we are working together to see what we can do to bring these families to these programs, all of the programs, because the schools offer resume building. How do you write a resume? There's some people that do not know how to read. Well, we want to help people to be able to get their GED. We want them to be able to read, and we want to do it with them still having self-respect, okay? So we have come together, and we're striving to do this. Now, why did I want to come here? Ann and I have been talking about for a long time. Well, we would like your help. We would like your help. We would like to be able to get human services to back us and to encourage DHHS, the caseworkers, to make referrals to our class. Now, I have sent you a flyer. I encourage each and every one of you. It's a class that's going to be starting on February 3rd, and we will have other classes that we schedule. Come to our class, find out what we're doing, but find out what we're doing before, so that you can decide for yourself if this is something that can make a difference. Because we wholeheartedly believe that with the people that we have worked with, that we can make a significant change, not just us, but the Flint School District. And let me make something perfectly clear. We don't just work with this Flint School District. I am emphasizing them because I have primarily worked with them. And just to be honest with you, I love working with the Flint School District. The parents, I've been doing this for 14 years. I have just about anybody that I've worked with has my cell phone number, and they're welcome to call me and contact me for anything. Because when Ann and I meet with these people, We are not meeting with them just because we want numbers. When we are finished, we want them to know that they have now joined the family of MSU Extension. If they have any issues, if they have any problems, they know how to contact us. We have a newsletter that we have started, so we're trying to make it so that anybody, no matter where they live, will get follow-up with a newsletter that is giving them ideas on different activities that they can do with their children, and also tips and tricks on helping their kids when they're in the kitchen. Because think about this, and it just kind of really clicked with me since Ann and I started working together, and that is, when kids are in the kitchen, that's when they learn instructional reading from a recipe. They're learning how to sort, they're learning how to categorize, as they're learning about nutrition. And that's what we're trying to encourage parents to recognize, because that is where they first learn about reading. I mean, we're wanting everybody to be able to read by the time they're in third grade. We need parents to know that it doesn't mean they have, that there's a special thing they have to do. All they have to do is go in the kitchen and work with the kids in preparing a recipe. Would you please go get the zucchini for me from the refrigerator? So what do? They bring back the cucumber. Talk about, what color is that? What does it smell like? So there's so much that they learn from the parents, or can learn from the parents right in their home. That's what we want to try to help parents to realize. And we make it as fun as we possibly can. Now, we are also working with the early childhood. We work with the March of Dimes, and I gotta get this, I gotta look over here, Zeta, Beta, Phi, I never get those right. And we have been working with the family court. We attend the attendance task force meeting. And we have several people that are using our program as a preventative measure with parents to help them understand routines and hopefully help them to avoid going to court because they have children that aren't going to school. So there's a lot of things that we are really trying to work on. We work with the GISD, Judson Center, the foster parents use us as a training. Trying to think if there's anything that I'm missing. I think I've just about covered everything. But I guess the point is we really would like your support in this respect. It's hard to, I'm gonna be honest, it's hard to get into DHHS. They're busy for one thing. So to do a presentation, to try to do a presentation, that's a difficult thing. But if there is a way that you could help us to be able to do that so that we can help families, we would sincerely appreciate it. And I encourage you, I don't want to say challenge, I do actually, but I'll say encourage, to please attend one of our classes so you can see what we're doing and know that we are working to do the best we can to help families have success. Because if families are having success when they're outside of their home, things go a lot smoother. I did bring, this is a kit, we call it the thinking kit. I am gonna leave this here so that you guys can go through it. All of our families receive a thinking kit. They have different activities that they can do because along with our program, we have what is called a playtime. Playtime is extremely important for children as far as learning. So they have an opportunity parents actually go to this playtime and they learn how to play with their kids. Are any of you like the type of parent that plays? Are you if my husband and I were standing here, I'd have to say, and let me hide my face, okay? I am not very good at playing. Now, my husband is great at playing. I'm not very good at it. But playing is so important. And I look back now and think, gosh, you really missed some good opportunities, you know, that you didn't realize you really should have been doing. So if you take a look at that, that would be wonderful. I believe this kit also has what we call a directions for doing a calming jar. You know, a lot of times when children are upset or even just feeling anxiety in that, if there's something that they can do with their hands to kind of get their mind off of the emotion they're feeling, and they came up with what they call a calming jar, and they put, I can't think of everything that they put in there, but they just shake that, they can just sit there and they watch the little sparkles, and it kind of helps to calm them down, which wouldn't be bad for adults either. I noticed that my girls they have anxiety, all three of them, and not knowing it, they have this little ring that has these balls on it. And when we were together at Christmas, they were commenting, and I thought, I never even saw it before. And they'll sit there and they can just take and move those little balls. You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah, Ms. Kaiser, we're going to encourage each board member to make sure that they get one of the kits. And we're going to thank you very much.
Oh, I'm sorry, I must have taken too
for all
long.
the information that you're sharing with us. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. I did bring two, and I will leave it here so that you do not forget MSU Extension, a water bottle. Does anybody have any questions, or did I cover everything pretty good?
Any questions from board members?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Okay, there's no old business, new business. Director of Administration, approval of an agreement between Genesee County and Genesee Health System to provide for the disbursement of millage dollars. What's your pleasure?
So moved?
Support.
Been properly moved and supported. Any discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sad to see this come to the board, what I feel is prematurely. If you've worked with me down here, you know mental health to me is a big issue. I think it's neglected in this nation tremendously. It's almost looked at as a second-class symptom of our health system. Maybe even worse, but I understand what they were trying to do with this millage. I think it was 7 to 8 months ago, several of us were tasked with actually working with them, trying to see how we could distribute it, move the funds, see where the funds were going, and so on and so forth. I still don't feel, in my opinion, that this is where we want to be with this right now. I wanted to see more answers as far as where the dollars were going to be spent in our community. I don't think this addresses that. I wanted to see more from the get-go, and I think the commissioners that worked with me on this will agree. I want to see more dollars towards our schools. And I just don't think that was met after what we've seen happen down in Oxford. I mean, we can see that mental health issues, they come to the forefront when we see that. But most of these problems can be identified by our schools when these children are young. We can see this and we can try to help them and move forward to create productive adults. And I just don't feel that I've seen enough in what they're proposing and where these dollars are going as of right now to move forward with this. And we have the right to hold these funds till we feel they're going to be distributed correctly. They'll sit in a fund. We can't spend them on anything else, but they will sit there until we determine it is. And I would like a little more time to make sure that we are addressing these issues. Because if we have the power to help one individual and stop one incident, like what happened down in Oxford or what's happened all over our country, I think we owe that to the residents, because I think that's what they voted for. They know we have a mental health crisis in this nation, and I would just like to see more of One, how are these funds really directly affecting our community? Because I don't think I've seen that yet. Two, I would like to see more done within the schools or around the schools to help them. So I would ask we just hold off on this until we can get them in here and actually have another meeting before we formalize this and make it happen. So thank you.
Yep. Commissioner Ellenberg.
Yes, could we have Mr. Russo come up and explain maybe some of the questions that Mr. Shoemaker is having a problem with and how we could solve it? If
Dan.
it can be. Sorry to put you on the spot, but maybe, kind of clarify some things.
Good morning. I'm Dan Russell. I'm CEO of Genesee Health System. I have Jennifer McCarty with me. She is Senior Director of Clinical Innovation and Performance, and she is our subject matter expert on the millage and funding. Commissioner Shoemaker, I appreciate your comments. There is flexibility in there to do that. I do want to stress that working with the schools is a two-way. I can't go and say, I'm here to solve your problems, when you want me. And please understand, we've been doing this for quite a while, and the reception is mixed. Some schools want a lot of help. Some schools, excuse me, we never get callbacks. So we are working with Dr. Tunicliffe. Actually, we've had, and this is nothing about past administration, but probably more productive conversations with Dr. Tunicliffe in the last 6 months than I've had with GISD over the last 10 years. He invited us to the Genesee County Superintendents Association annual retreat. We're going next month and have that very discussion. So I think there will be more, but it is not something that we can just say, we're going to do this. And I can show you a budget, and, some schools might say, hey, that's great, and some schools will say, no, you're not going to do that. We're fine. What we get a lot of times is we're okay and we can take care of our own. And I can respect that if they have the staff to do that and the expertise to do that. So I think with JSD, we're going to be able to do a little more of that, but that's going to take time. That's not something we're going to go in April and start doing immediately.
Yep. Any further discussion? Commissioner Noden.
Yeah, could you just give me a little bit more information around focus area 7 when you talk about service to the most vulnerable population? Because that's where I have some serious concerns, and I think I talked to you about this prior to the millage, and I'm just saying in and around where my building is.
Sure.
We're bursting. We have a lot of folks that have issues. What are we going to be doing, or is this millage going to address some of those folks? Because some of those folks are out on the street and they're having issues, and sometimes they end up in the hospital, sometimes they end up in jail. But are we going to be proactive in trying to get some of those folks some help too? And I know we probably see that in each one of our districts. You can ride down the street or in a neighborhood and see folks that are having issues. So what type of outreach are we going to do to be able to address that in this millage?
Jennifer, you want to take that?
Sure. So that's a great question. I think one of the things that we know is that we really need to increase the awareness of the services that we can offer. And we also need to do outreach to vulnerable populations. That's something we heard at every town hall, at every focus group, is that we need to do more. And so I think being able to establish that outreach on the front end to get people in for services is very important. Being able to hire staff to do that outreach is very important. We do have outreach teams now that are functioning under grants. Grants have lots of rules and regulations that have to be followed, and very clear and restricted, narrow focus. And so the millage will allow us to hire more people to outreach and bring people in for services.
Thank you.
Yeah. And just to follow up on Commissioner Noden, there is a great need in the constituency that we both serve. And I think, Dan, we've talked about this. My opinion is that we need more crisis intervention centers, in every quadrant of the county. Some people will not come down to Fifth Avenue. So, that would be my concern, is to make sure that we have centers that are available to people and that they're comfortable, approaching.
No, I think that's a great point, and again, that's something we heard during the needs assessment in just about every meeting. And, good or bad, there are a lot of people that are not going to come down to Flint for services or for anything. And we are looking at outreach in different parts of the county. This is a countywide millage, and we do get that. We are a countywide program, even though a lot of our services are concentrated in Flint. We are going to try to address that with satellite offices, north, south, so that there is that accessibility. And, and our building does have a bit of a reputation. It is, a lot of people see it as that place, and nobody wants to be seen going into that place, because that's where those people go. And we know that's an issue, so we are going to try and get more out into the community. And with the millage, I think we're going to be able to do that and be more accessible. That was one of the goals of the millage.
Commissioner Shoemaker.
Thank you both. Everybody forgive me, but I've realized something in life, that if it's not on paper, people will say a lot of things, and unfortunately, it doesn't get done. We have the ability, as the county board, to see these things, like Charles said, or Mr. Winfrey, I'm sorry, happen. We can do that, and that's what we're here for. This is so important. It's so vital. I commend them for bringing it forward in our county, because it's so needed. I would like to actually sit down with them. This is not the place to actually hammer out a few things. And I thought before we'd bring this to the board, we'd actually have an opportunity to come and sit down with someone like Commissioner Davis or Commissioner Winfrey. Commissioner Avery's just getting caught up into this. This is $9.5 million, if I am correct. Am I correct, Mr. Freeman, that where we're at? That is public money, and this is a entity that has served the community very well, but we have an obligation to make sure those millage dollars, even though they're not coming to us, they're coming to us directly as far as payment, and then we distribute them, are spent wisely in areas we think would fit. And they're willing to work with us, obviously, and I'm not saying they work, 'cause when they came in, they were fantastic to deal with, but we did that one time, and that's, just my opinion, this amount of money, not enough. And I think they're willing to, they want to do what's best, and I think we have an idea what we want to see. And I just would like to have an opportunity to have more input from other commissioners. On top of it, we have a new commissioner. I've had conversations with Mr. Davis over this, what we would like to see, and I just don't think it's come to the point where I'm comfortable with what I'd see. And not that they don't have the intent of doing that, but unless sometimes things are always in writing, sometimes things happen and they don't happen. So right now, I would just ask to postpone it, not to even have a no or a yes vote on it, because I think we're all in support of it, just to schedule a meeting actually now with them to discuss a few things, and then actually have a meeting with you guys that we have a new chair. I think he could appoint a couple people to oversee this and move forward with what our desires are and see if it's feasible for them, and then come back and just push this through and get it done the right way.
So Dan, would it cause any problem if we delayed this until the next County Board of Commissioners meeting?
It depends on the timing, and I've been trying to get this going. I've sent a number of emails, requests for meetings, and I know you guys are busy, so we have been under a little bit of time crunch. We have some things that are kind of in motion. A little bit delay, certainly not going to hurt anything. 2 or 3 months is going to just make it that much longer, and we need to start.
No, I would just suggest until the next full board meeting. Commissioner Nolan.
I'm just wondering, I've never received an invite for a meeting.
No, my invite went to
Dan,
Mr.
Dan, if I
Freeman
can-
and the commissioners that were on that committee.
Yeah, Dan, if I can step in, just so if you'll remember, Commissioner Young set up a meeting set up a committee made up of, I think, Commissioner Davis, Commissioner Shoemaker, and Commissioner Clemens, and they were the group that were handling.
But I don't even remember getting any findings back from those that were on that committee.
if I may.
And you know, and I read everything.
Yeah.
And I
If I
don't,
may.
I have never received anything on it.
If I may, I didn't think that's why I walked up to talk to Mr. Freeman up there. I said, I didn't think we were ready to even get to this point yet, because I haven't had a chance to. And you guys know me, when I have something like motor pool, I've had ideas, I walk into your office, I talk about it, you know, we go over things like that. I didn't even think we were to that point in this yet. That's why, you know,
If you make a motion to postpone, I'll support it.
I'll
And
make
then
them,
the-
and I don't see 2-3 months. I don't see the next meeting it being done, but I don't see 2-3 months. So please don't, I'm gonna give you my stuff so you can actually, you guys grab it, so you can actually, my cell phone's on there. So if you have a trouble, we'll get in the meeting. And I'm not even sure I'm gonna be on this committee, because there's a brand-new chair, and I think he should decide who's gonna actually sit on this, out of respect for him and his position. But please call me on my cell. It's actually, you talk to the residents, it's actually my cell. I do pick it up, and I will try to push it forward. But I would move that we postpone it until further notice. I don't want to put a date on it, but I guarantee it's not going to be 2-3 months. I want to just move forward with this fast, and I'm willing to meet at any time to get this handled.
I'll support it if it's next month, because I think that'll give us
Been
enough
properly
time.
moved
Next
and
month, I think
supported.
that's fair.
You're putting the time certain on it, Commissioner Nolden, until
Yes,
next month?
Yeah.
Next month this time?
Okay. Been properly moved and supported to,
I want to be clear on the date. So the next Human Services Committee meeting, which will be the 9th?
That'd be fine.
yeah. Okay. Any further discussion?
Just if I could, Mr. Chair, what are we going to do at that meeting?
Well, we'll bring it back to a committee, and hopefully at that point, if the commissioners are satisfied, we'll move it to the total board.
Mr. Chair, if I may, my suggestion would be whoever Commissioner Chairman Clemens picks to be on this, actually sit down and meet with each of us, come up with an actual, now that they've had a chance to actually read this, come up with some objections or any objections they may have or things they would like to see, and then we meet with you guys to we sit down, and we're going to sit in that room, whoever does, I would hope they would, finish it up, and we walk out of there, and we go to the rest of the commissioners and explain what took place, and then we vote the next Health and Human Services meeting and move forward. That would be my hope and goal.
And really, that's my issue. Whomever met, I haven't had any conversations with anybody about it. And the first time I seen this is when they posted it.
Yep. Commissioner Clemens?
So maybe a question for Corporate Counselor Mr. Freeman. I don't know if we need to do this at a board meeting or if I can name folks now to be on a work group for that. If I can do that now, I think it would be appropriate for the chair of our Health and Human Service Commission committee, Commissioner Winfrey, Commissioner Shoemaker, who's been very passionate and advocate for this work, and then Commissioner Nolden, who has a large population in his district that receives the services, to sit on that.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, Dan, thanks for sharing with us, and Commissioner Shoemaker, Commissioner Nolden, and myself will set up something with you. Okay,
Just in closing, I want to say, I know this is a difficult process, and it is a lot of money. We are kind of, creating a whole new agency. I mean, there are a lot of agencies that don't have this kind of money to work with. And I know there's a lot of concern with that. I will be here as often as you want me to explain anything that you want. Okay? We're trying to be as transparent. We're a fairly transparent organization. We're public, just like you guys are. Everything we do is subject to public review. So if you want us here on whatever basis to talk about a specific issue, we'd be happy to do that. This is, we're in this together. We're just, we just want to get it going.
thank you,
It's,
thank you.
real simple.
Okay, and we'll vote on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item B, G card, approval of an agreement between Genesee County and Alarm Management LLC.
Move it.
Been properly moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Request authorization to accept an increase in MDCH funding in the amount of $49,366.
Support.
Been properly moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Approval of modification number 1 to an agreement between Genesee County and Mott Community College.
Move it.
Been properly moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Item C, Health Department.
Move it.
Been properly moved. Any support?
Support.
Properly moved and supported. Approval of a contract in the amount of $2,160. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Is there any other business before this committee? If not, this committee stands